Today we are going to learn a new poem from the Treasure Trove ICSE book, which is Chapter 2, The Cold Within. Here, the James Patrick Kinney is an American poet who wrote this poem in 1960s century. Although it was first rejected as being too controversial, it gained popularity rapidly after it had been read out at a council meeting of all religion. Now, this poem describes the tragic death of a group of 6 who stands around a fire, each holding on grimly to a log of wood, allowing their selfishness, prejudice, malice, suspicion to dictate their action. They refuse to share the log to fuel the dying fire and keep each other warm. Eventually the fire dies out, and in the morning all 6 of them are found frozen to death, each clutching, even in death, a log that could have easily saved their lives if only they had overcome the petty barriers of class, race, and religion that divided them. The poem is a simple yet powerful reminder that if we selfishly hold on to the world's resources and the wealth that it has to offer, if we persist in discriminating on grounds of race, religion, caste, gender, and ethnicity, we are all lost. Now let's read the poem. Now in the first stanza, 6 humans trapped by happenstance in bleak and bitter cold, each one possessed a stick of wood, or so the story is told. In this first stanza, the 6 humans were trapped together by chance in biting cold, means in severe cold. It was an extremely cold winter. Each one of them has a stick of wood. Each person over there contained a stick of wood in his or her hand. This forms the setting of the poem, and against this background the story is narrated. Okay. Now then, let's move to the next. The dying fire in need of logs, but the first one held her back, for of the faces round the fire she noticed one was black. Now the second stanza, it is extremely cold and the fire that is keeping them warm is dying. Okay, the dying fire in need of logs. Because it was extremely cold, they had a fire burnt in the middle or in the center by the people, and they were sitting there and warming themselves. And now the fire was dying, and it is needed to be kept alive by adding more logs to it as a fuel. It can be kept alive only if one of them puts his log to use. The first person in the group is a woman, is prejudiced when she noticed that one of the faces round the fire is black. She therefore holds her log back. Now she sees that among the men sitting over there in the circle, one was black. Now she is discriminating on the creed or color. Okay, so because of that reason, she holds her log back. She refused to give the log to the fire to make the fuel burn. Now the third stanza. The next man looking across the way saw one was not of his church, and could not bring himself to give the fire his stick of a birch. Okay. Now in the third stanza, another man looked across the way among the rest of the people and finds out that one of them does not belong to the same church. He finds that among the men sitting over there, one person is not belonging to his religious community. This reason or fact stops him from using his stick in the fire to keep the fire alive. Now then, fourth stanza. The third one sat in tattered clothes. He gave his coat a hitch. Why should his log be put to use to warm the idle rich? Now in the third stanza, the third one sat in tattered clothes. Now the tattered clothes, referring to the first line of the fourth stanza, refers to the poor man. Okay. Now he was the third man. Now the third man is a poor man who sits in tattered clothes. Tattered clothes mean teared clothes and very dirty clothes. Okay. Now to protect himself from freezing cold, he gives his coat a hitch. Because the cold was very severe, even the sweater or the jacket that he was wearing was unable to keep him warm. So to protect himself from the freezing cold, he gives his coat a hitch. Okay. He does not use his logs to prevent the rich man sitting there from getting warm. Now, he dreams that there is an idle a rich person in the group, and therefore he decides that his log will not be used to fuel the fire and to warm that rich fellow in that group. Okay. Now let's come to the fifth stanza. The rich man sat back and thought of the wealth he had in store and how to keep what he had earned from the lazy, shiftless poor. Now here in stanza 5, the rich man on the other hand thinks of the wealth he has in stores and how to keep it safe from the poor man. Now the rich man among them all men, he had many wealth in his stores, in his bank account or with his treasury. Okay, and he is thinking how to save the money or the wealth that he had earned with hard living from these lazy, shiftless poor. Now he is referring to the class, okay, rich or poor. Now the sixth stanza. The black man's face bespoke revenge as the fire passed from his side, for all he saw in a stick of wood was a chance to spike the white. Now in the sixth stanza, there was a black man among that group. Now the black man's face looks revengeful, and the only thing visible to him in his stick is a chance to harm the white man. Why? Because while he was seeing in the group, there was a white woman. Okay, he was a white woman sitting there and protecting herself from the freezing cold. Now this black man wanted to show revenge on her. He refuses to give the log to the fire and to keep warm that white woman, because now he was discriminating on their race. Okay. Now the seventh stanza. The last man of this forlorn group did not accept for gain. Giving only to those who gave was how he played the game. Now in the stanza 7, the last man of his lonely group does nothing except something for his benefit. He always looks for his own benefit. He does nothing for anyone else. He always sees at his own good. Okay? What rules him is selfishness. He always is ruled by selfishness. He is a kind of selfish nature man. He gives only to those who give him something in return. Okay? He only lend something to the person who will lend something back to him as a reward or in return. Now the stanza 8. The log held tight in death's still hand was proof of human sin. They did not die from the cold without, they died from the cold within. Now in stanza 8, their log being held tight in the hands invite death. Now this tells us the ending of the story or the conclusion of the poem. Okay, their logs being held tight in their hands invite death. They could have easily saved each other's life by putting their log into the fire to fuel it and keep burning. But they didn't, because they were overcome with petty barriers of class, race, and religion. Okay? Now, it is nothing but a proof of human sin. The last stanza is nothing but a proof of human sin. The poem ends with a note that the 6 people die not from the freezing cold outside, but of the cold within them. Now, the last 2 stanzas describe the poetry image. Okay. Now, it is saying that all the 6 of them did not die because they have parted their logs from each other or from the cold outside. They died because their heart was very bad. They did not have the caring nature. They did not want to protect each other. Okay, they were all barriers of class, race, and religion, and they were being divided between each other. So that's all for today. I think you liked this chapter. I made it easy for you. So let's see next day. Thank you. Do like and subscribe my channel.